What's up, Scott Squad? We are back with another video. We back in the building. It's your boy DJ Richie Skye, and we got to talk about the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 13, episode 18. We talking about the season finale, and we got some news. And it's interesting because most of the news does not even relate to the episode. That just tells you how good we feel like the episode might have been, at least over here. But y'all feel free to let me know y'all thoughts down in the chatterization as we go along, because we got a lot to discuss today, and I want to make sure I hit every single highlight, okay? Before we get into the news, let me know in that chatterization where you're watching from. Let me know in the chatterization. Drop that location. Come on, give it to us. Give it to us. We got Virgin Islands in the house, DC in the building. Who else we got in here? Grand Prairie, Texas, Akron, Ohio, Texas in the building, St. Louis, Missouri, Savannah, Georgia, Tanzania, Columbia, Mississippi. We got Atlanta on vacation, New York, Greenville, South Carolina, the UK. We got Vegas up in here. We got the Netherlands up in the building. Who else we got in here? Rockford, Illinois, Dallas. We got Florida, Zambia. Who else? Who else? Nigeria, Queens, Bmore, Jamaica, Connecticut. I see y'all up in this building. Chicago, Cali, Nashville, Antigua. Wow, y'all are really up in the place today. Okay, good. Because we got a lot to discuss. Now, let me go ahead and tell y'all, we're going to be discussing Porsha Williams snapping on that good Marlo Hampton last night on Watch What Happens Live. I know you had to see it, and if you didn't, let me tell you, it was a savage read. It was a savage read, the likes of which I don't even think that this friendship will be able to recover from, okay? It's over. It's a wrap. But you know, things could change next season, so you just never know. But what I'm letting you know is the read was savage. Then we got to talk about Gizelle giving us some tea on Latoya and the Prophet. And I'm going to talk to you about why this is important as we get into the thing, okay? And then we got to, of course, we're going to recap the episode. This is a season finale, so we're going to recap it as such. We're going to talk a little bit about the season in general, but we're also going to get into the nuts and bolts of the episode as well, okay? So to kick things off, let's get into this Porsha Williams and Marlo Hampton story, okay? Now, the first thing I need you guys to know is that last night, Porsha Williams and that good Drew Sidora were on Watch What Happens Live. Now, let me go ahead and let y'all know. Andy shaded the mess out of Drew Sidora, okay? He shaded the mess out of that good Drew Sidora, talking about these bogus receipts that she had pulled out, the tape recorder. He went on to, shade her wig, her hairstyles. I mean, it was all kinds of underhanded, sneaky shade, shade from the side. You know what I'm saying? But here's where things get interesting. Because when they have the guests, the virtual audience on there, which I think is actually a great idea. And they do actually let the virtual audience ask questions. So, I think one of the viewers asked something about, if Marlo and Porsha would ever be, back on good terms, or if she had any thoughts about Marlo or anything like that. Anyway, when it came down time for Porsha to answer the question, she says this. She says, well, I have seen some interviews that she has done, and she has asked me not to speak her name. So she said this. When a felon with a lisp says, do not speak my name, I'm not going to speak on a felon, okay? For the people in the back, let me repeat that for you. She says, when a felon with a lisp says, do not speak her name, I'm not going to speak on a felon, okay? Now I was like, oh, Lord have mercy. Now, y'all know, for a minute here, I had forgotten anything about, Marlo's past or whatever like that. Because, I try to see people for where they are in their present day. And I was just like, I wasn't prepared for this. I was like, oh, Lord. Now, I can't be, now Porsha did snap. I ain't gonna lie, Porsha snapped, but Marlo had snapped earlier because Marlo had basically said, okay, she talked about Porsha's face. She talked about, her body. She talked about, how it was allegedly stanking up in the room where the action happened with that good bolo. So it was, I mean, you know, they going at it right now, okay? And it's sad to see because, you know, I had hope for their friendship. You know what I'm saying? T-Ness, thank you for the super chat. We got Snoozeville. I give last night's episode a 2, okay? I understand, T-Ness. I understand. And we're going to get to that rating in just 1 second. But thank you for that super chat. We appreciate the love, okay? Now, I had thought to myself, I said, now that's some, ooh, she ain't have to go like that. Then when asked about whether or not Marlo's fashions were real, okay, Porsha said that, which I think they're real. They should be real because she bartering what her cooch for the clothes. I was like, oh, no. Okay, we have got to stop judging women or men for what they do to get what they got, okay? That's what we got to stop doing. We're gonna stop judging everybody and what they do with their private parts, okay? And I'm gonna tell you why this is important as we get into this episode and this season overall, because there's a lot of that's happening, you know, within this here season. And I don't like it, okay? I don't even like it not one bit. You know what I'm saying? And we don't really know what she, you know, how she get her clothes. You know what I'm saying? She could have bought them just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's move on. Oh, here's the other thing. If you saw Watch What Happens Live, then you will know that Drew said she had more receipts. Okay, there was more to the recording, but allegedly she could not play any more of the recording. And then the reason why she said it was, she said because Georgia is a two-party state. Now, what I assume she meant by two-party state was that you had to get consent from both parties in order to play a recording that was recorded without someone's knowledge, because, you know, she had brought out that boom box from 1984, and in which Danny had Danny, her assistant / cousin or whoever he is, had a conversation with that good Prophet Lot, and it was recorded. Now, she said she had more to that, but since Georgia was a two-party state, she couldn't play it. Now, when I did my research, now I don't know the law necessarily, but I do know Google. And so what I did was I went back because I thought we had to research this when we talked about Snakegate last year. And what I want to say is that, you know, Georgia is actually a one-party consent state. So, Drew, I'm going to have to go ahead and tell you that really don't work in this situation, because Georgia is not a two-party consent state. Just to let y'all know, and I wanted to correct her on that, because, you know, Mama got it wrong on the national television, and if she got it wrong, we'll let it slide. We'll let it slide if she got it wrong. I understand it's a lot of pressure. You talking to Andy Cohen, you got Porsha on the line, you got a virtual audience, you're on the Bravo, the network's executives are watching. I get it, girl. I get it. Now, let's move on, okay? Because we got to talk about Gizelle spilling the tea on Latoya. Oh, yes. She is spilling the tea on Latoya and that good Prophet Lot. Now, let me go ahead and say something to y'all, because, you know, for much of the past 2-3 episodes, I've been a little bit frustrated with this whole Prophet Lot situation, because in my mind, you know, the way it had been made to seem was like, you know, this man was not really, you know, as engaged as we were led to believe. And he might have been single. And apparently nothing really happened according to Latoya and the Prophet. So to me, I felt like this whole situation had been a reach. So I was prepared to be all frustrated about it, even as I was doing my notes from last night. And I'm thinking to myself, I got a whole lot to say about this today. And I was going to say so much, and I probably still will. But at the end of the day, I was like, as I was watching Bravo chat room and Gizelle happened to spill this little bit of tea, listen, and sometimes you got to thank God for Gizelle for bringing in some good information, because, you know, if she ain't gonna do nothing else, she's gonna bring up somebody else's business. Okay, so anyway, she brings up this bit of information right here on that good Bravo chat room, and this is what she had to say to that good Porsha. Now, she says that she was told that Latoya was still messing with the Prophet, and when asked how she knows, it's because she knows those in the Prophet circle. Now, you know, Porsha was asking, well, who said it? Which this did a little birdie whisper it to you? Because in my mind, I was thinking to myself, now it was this some pillow talk with that good Pastor Jamal. I gotta ask, because that's the person that we know her best to be associated with in the whole prophet prophet circle. So to me, I was like, okay, it must be that good Jamal that had told her that, because who else would have said it? But, you know, she might know a whole lot of church folk, so I don't know. She might know a whole lot of church folk, so I don't know. But what she said was, she was told that Latoya is still messing with the prophet. Now, see, this was confusing to me. Okay, this was very confusing to me because, and this is the reason why I say because, it's confusing to me because when I look on social media, I see Latoya and I see a man named Vaughn. The man named Vaughn does not look anything like that good prophet Lot. So in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, now what is going on? What in the shenanigans is going on here? Somebody please let me know, because it's all very confusing to me. But if you know, I mean, listen, I don't know. I'm just trying to tell you, that this is what Gizelle is saying to the folks, okay? And she said it on the live national television, okay? So, I mean, that's it. That's what I want to know. Who telling the truth, who not, and Prophet Lot, if you are innocent of all this, I am so sorry to that man, because I feel like he has just been dragged up and down and through the Real Housewives chaos in this situation, okay? But that's all we got on that for right now. We'll see if anything else pops up with that whole situation. But y'all know I had to give y'all that bit of news. And now we can go ahead and let's go ahead and stage dive into the episode. Give me 1 second here. We got a super chat up in the building. We got a super chat up in the building from that good Brandon Gant. Brandon, you know the people like when you comment, so make sure you keep on commenting, bro. He says Gizelle, not Gizelle, is Jamal coming? Bryant dropping pastoral tea. Absolutely. You know, Gizelle got the pulpit tea. Okay, she got the pulpit and the prophet tea. Okay, because she spilled it last night. That's what she had to say. Now I don't know where she got it from. You know what I'm saying. But we can take a guess. Anyway, let's get into the episode, okay? Because we didn't talk all that, and we ain't even got to the episode yet. Now we're going to talk about this being in the context of what we would know as a season finale of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And then we'll look historically at season finale past in order to make our judgment for what we would rate this episode, okay? So, you know, we got a lot to compare this up against. We have, 13 seasons of season finales for which to judge this by. So when I give you my estimation of what I would rate the episode, I'm not just rating it as an episode within this season, okay? No. I'm rating it within the context of seasons past as well. So if my review of it seems harsh, that is why, okay? So for me, in terms of what I would give this season finale, I'm going to give it a 6. Absolutely. I'm going to give it a 6. Now, I would like for you guys to rate the episode as well. Now, again, I say rate this within the context of what we know to be a season finale of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And think about seasons finale past. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's why I give it a 6. I agree with you, California Cutie. Come on, Mary Cole. Come on, Leah the Queen. That's what we got. ATL Nina says 3. Ooh, somebody give it a negative 100. 3, 4. Who else we got? Ooh, said it was whack. Give it a 2. 5, 2, 5, 4, 6, 8, negative 6. Ooh, 4. Okay, 2, 3. So, and here's why I say this, because, I felt like there were some fun elements to this episode. Don't get me wrong. Definitely some fun elements. The entire scene where they're exchanging the gifts was probably, I loved that scene. It was funny to see them passing around the gifts, to see them shading the gifts, to see them trying to figure out whether or not this champagne was from the Bailey wine cellar, laughing at Porsha's reaction to Cynthia's gifts. You know what I'm saying? I'm cackling while Shamia and Porsha are trying to fix their hair in the middle of an argument between Drew and Latoya. Okay, it was funny to me. It was funny to me. But the reason for the argument to me was rather weak. Okay, it was rather weak. And I just kind of feel like this season finale was emblematic of exactly what we have been dealing with for much of the season, in that, it is a reflection of what I would consider, reaching storylines and sloppy editing. And I got to say that. And I hate to say that about people who work in production, because I feel like it's a lot of hard work. I know the amount of effort that it takes to create these shows, but I really have to, chastise the story producer as well as who the conglomerate of editors and approvers who said, let's send these episodes out into the world, because they were not finished. Okay. None of this was a finished product. It didn't have the shimmer of what we would come to know as a Real Housewives seasons, particularly of Atlanta, which is one of the top rated franchises. It just didn't work for me overall. And again, I felt like this episode was a reflection of this entire season as a whole. Choppy. Okay. Choppy. Sam gives us, I think people got to remember this was, okay, here's my thing about that. And I agree with you. But the problem that I have with this is the story was there, okay? There was story there, all right? It was just not told well. So to me, I'm not giving it a pass, because you don't get a pass for editing a story down during a pandemic, because ultimately it would be different if there was no story there, right? It was just the stories that they chose to focus on were not necessarily what the viewer would have liked to have seen. And I just feel like I cannot give them the excuse of this was a pandemic when clearly the story was there. They clearly didn't want to elaborate on certain storylines. They skipped over whole portions of things. And I just feel like, no, I can't let that slide this time. I can't. I'm sorry. I just can't. I cannot. Okay. Brittany says, I feel like Drew was cool in the beginning, but felt like she needed to do more to secure her peach. That's basically what it was given to me. It was given very much like you're starting off on a good note. Now, the scenes with the son were a little bit awkward to me. You know what I'm saying? The son being the scenes where we were seeing him interact with the father. It just almost seemed like it just was like you're forcing this child to do this scene, and he really is not that interested in this man at this point. I would have rather seen more of specifically how Drew deals with this man, and how Ralph interacts with this man, more so because I just felt like, I just got a weird feeling from it. I don't know. I can't really describe it, and I felt for the son because I understand where he was, but it was just difficult to watch. And maybe that could have made for compelling TV for some people. So I don't know. I can't, but I do feel like what she was doing in the end was just a lot. Okay. But I got some thoughts on that too. I do got some thoughts on that. Yasmin, who gives us a super chat, says, I agree. The storylines have potential, but they fell flat on the cutting room floor. Kandi, speak on it, is way better than the entire season. Absolutely. It is the things that were surrounding this season that made the season a lot more popping than what we actually got on the screen. And that's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. Thank you for that super chat. And here, can I give you guys a prime example of what I mean by whoever let this through in the editing room? You got some work to do. Let me pull it up. Y'all want an example? Here you go. Okay. Let me pull this up. Shout out to our people over at Bravo, Ducking Bravo, who credits at Rmore DC for spotting this. Now, if you guys happen to see here at the final credits, and I know we are jumping ahead, but I got to give you an example of what I mean by this. In the ending credits, and this is an example of what I mean by the Rusherization of it all. In the ending credits, how do you misspell Kenya's baby's name? It is Brooklyn, not Brooklyn, okay? And to me, I just felt like, okay, now, if you don't get nothing else right, you better get Brooklyn's name right, okay? Because we know from watching this season that Brooklyn means the world to Kenya. It is one of the things that makes Kenya, for a lot of people, that motherhood journey so redeemable and so likable, because we know beyond a shadow of a doubt, she loves this babe. She loves her child. So I was just real annoyed when I saw this as your ending credit. How did this slip through the cracks? Okay. How did this slip through the cracks? It don't make no sense to me. And so this is what I mean by things not being looked at correctly throughout the season. And this, to me, is a reflection of that. Okay. 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 So, this is what I mean by that. But, I digress. I have gone down this rabbit hole enough. Again, shout out to our friends over at Bravo, Ducking Bravo, for really pointing this out. And I wanted to use this as an example to illustrate what I meant by what I was saying. Okay. So now that we've gotten that, let's get down into what happened in the episode. Okay. We got, Kandi getting the Kandi Burruss day. Okay. She's at the Blaze. Mike and Cynthia wants a new house. Porsha speaking at the Senate runoff rally. Okay. Drew and Ralph prepping Josiah to meet old daddy. I wish they would just call him biological father. Okay. They get to the spot. They waiting. And finally, an hour and 13 minutes later, this man shows up. And, Josiah, bless his heart, he does not seem interested at all in this scene right here. I feel like this is a situation that requires a level of sensitivity and is not as easily portrayed on camera as it should be, given ample time and space to breathe on their own. You know what I'm saying? Just because of the nature of the relationship. But at the end of the scene, Ricky, I think that's his name, we learn he is flying out of Atlanta tonight. So he's back off and headed back to LA. Okay. So we get the Kenya Moore therapy session. Now, this to me was just as confusing as ever. Okay. She has a therapy session with Dr. Christie. She recaps the birthday party with Mark. And as we can see, Mark and the beautiful baby are blurred out. Now, he wants to stay with her. He stays with her and he wants to, get it in at night like everything is hunky-dory or whatever, at least according to her. And she still has her walls up because she's been hurt by this man before. And rightly so, okay? Now, she said that before he left, he was wanting to get the family back together again, but her feelings have changed, okay? Now, he's saying if you stop the fight in court, then I'll start doing this and stop doing this, okay? So it sounds like he's trying to hold some things over her head in order to get what he wants. You know what I'm saying? We got a couple of super chats in the building. Let me acknowledge these real quick. We got John Vett, who says Drew scene was cringy. They keep calling this man old daddy and it was forced. And if Kenya's still hanging with Shay, why can't she keep baby Brooklyn? I was wondering that, but maybe Shay be like, I ain't no babysitter, okay? I don't know what the case is, but thank you, John Vett, for that super chat. We got another one from Carla, who says, first Mark just flew in and came to her house, even got into bed with her, told her he wanted his family back, then blocks her. Come on with the lies, Ken. Thank you for the super chat. Boo, we appreciate you. Yes, so it's confusing to all of us to really watch this whole situation go down. Dr. Christie wants his perspective. And when she tries to text him, I guess in order to get that perspective, the text ain't delivered, okay? Now, that's a telltale sign you've been blocked, especially when they got an iPhone, okay? And so then she tries to call and find out that it went straight to voicemail. So she reasons that he has blocked her, okay? Now, according to Kenya, he said that he wanted her to come home at nights and cook dinner, and he wanted intimate favors from her. And that was from that morning, an argument that they had that morning. And then she feels like because she wasn't willing to give him what he wanted, he blocked her, okay? So she ends up having to text him and call him from Brooklyn's number. Now, when she texts him, he say that he at the hospital because a friend is in the hospital. But Kenya, being the smart person she is, says that you can't be in the hospital doing a panorama. So, I mean, why you lying? Okay. So anyway, he basically tells her, I cannot talk to you right now. Okay. And end scene. At that time, she decides that she's just going to be single and ready to mingle and be Kenya again. Now, this is where I got to go back to something, because this is what I don't understand. Now, when we saw this right here, I got to pull this back up. It says here, and I don't know if anybody else peeped this, it says here that she has officially filed for divorce from Mark Daly. Did anybody else see that? Was that news to anybody else? Because the last I heard was that he filed divorce from her back in January, but he filed it in the state of New York. Did that happen? I thought he put out a message that said he had filed for divorce in some publication. I am confused. I'm confused. And I felt like they just slipped this in here in this end credit. And I was like, now wait a minute. If she had been filed for divorce, why ain't we heard about it? So I don't understand. It's very confusing to me. And this is another reason why I feel like, Kiki Alex with the super chat says, Richie, let's start a campaign. Everyone tag Drew and introduce her to the new term, biological father. Old daddy is weird. Absolutely. Biological father is where it's at. Thank you for that super chat. Then we have Let's Have Tea with Tina. Says, watching Kenya be heartbroken and blind is painful to watch. Thank you for taking time to entertain us. I do my best. I do my best. Thank you so much. Yes, and he did it on her birthday. So I'm confused by this whole thing. And I felt like to throw this in at the end was just like, what? We haven't heard any of this. This is news to us, but okay, fine. If that's what we're getting, fine. Anyway, we get to, we got another super chat in the building from Janae. Says, I don't believe they're married. Love you. Thank you for the super chat, boo. Love you right back. Rob J in the city says, I saw it last week around Friday that Kenya filed recently. I ain't seen it nowhere. I'm just confused. And I don't understand, why is it so confusing, this whole situation? Anyway, Cynthia is planning a white elephant party and everybody is supposed to be bringing $1,000 gift. Now, I knew at that point this was going to be a recipe for disaster. And I do feel like this is something that the producers did a good job on in cluing us in on how important this $1,000 gift was. Okay. Because some people is going to be really upset in just a few minutes, as you guys will see. Now, Drew's mom is already like $1,000, which is probably why Drew came with the gift that she came with, because her mama was like, $1,000 can be put someplace else. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, it's a friendmas at Cynthia's house. Hey, Mallory. Drew is running late along with Porsha, and Latoya don't want to come because she don't want no drama. Now, clearly she know she gonna have to come if she want this check, and she's trying to get the screen time because she's just a friend at this point. So you got to show up, girl. Marlo isn't coming, but we learned that her assistant is. Now, Cynthia, for some reason, has brought llamas to this event. I'm not sure why, but fine. Okay, fine. Kandi, Shamia, and Kenya all arrive. And, Cynthia, I do feel like did a very good job of, catering this event. I felt like she went all out in terms of the celebration. So it was a little sad to me that, so many of the ladies were either ducking out or were extremely late. Now, I got to tell you, I'm going to get to that in a second. Marlo's gift arrives. They start eating, and I kind of feel bad again because it looks like Cynthia put a lot into this event. They all decide to start distributing numbers for the white elephant. Now, 3 hours and 20 minutes into the party, Drew and Porsha arrive. Now, see, this is the type of thing that annoys me, and I have a pet peeve about this in general. I'm okay if you're like 10 to 15 minutes late. You know what I'm saying? If you're 30 minutes late, I can understand it if you're giving me notice, right? Because, you know, if I'm out someplace, I can get drinks at the bar. I can get, you know, I can do whatever. But my thing about it is, you know, and I understand, I've talked about this before. Sometimes people are late because it's production issues. But to be 3.5 hours late to an all-cast filming event, I could never in my mind fathom doing that. And it is such a blatant disrespect for people's time. And unfortunately, Porsha is a habitual offender with this, you know, showing up way late. And it's just, I feel like it's disrespectful to the producers. It's disrespectful to the rest of the other ladies, because what happens then is scenes have to last much longer because everybody has to be on set much longer. So it's just kind of like it. I hate stuff like that. And I feel like, Porsha, you got to start doing better, because that also goes to show, if it happened the way that it happened, it's about professionalism as well. Like, who could show up at their job 3.5 hours late? You know what I'm saying? I feel like what should happen is when people start showing up that late, that your pay should be docked, okay? And I don't mean just $1,000 here or there. I think a nice hefty chunk. If you're late and you're late for this episode, then you should miss out on your pay for the episode. Then I bet you people will start being on time, or at least not 3 hours late. That's just me. That's just me. I don't like that, Porsha. Y'all need to stop doing that. So when they do get there, they end up getting numbers 1 and 2 in the white elephant, which we learned is not a good thing. Okay. So Porsha gets some Tiffany bracelets and a necklace from Cynthia. She obviously don't like it. Okay. They look like they was for kids. And she told us on the Bravo, on the Watch What Happens Live, that she repurposed it and she's giving those items to baby PJ. Okay. Mallory ends up, Drew gets Porsha's Baccarat perfume and mini Gucci bag. Mallory, for whatever reason, is participating in the gift exchange, and she takes that gift from Drew. So then Drew ends up getting some champagne from, I guess, either Cynthia or Mallory, and it was supposed to be $1,000 worth of champagne from the wine cellar. Okay. Now that sounds like a little cheaterization right there, but I'm gonna let it slide. Okay. I'm gonna let it slide. Unless it's some Cristal or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I was just like, okay, but that's Drew. That's what you get for being late. Anyway. So we get, Shamia gets an iPhone 12 from Kandi. Kandi gets Kenya's diamond earrings, okay? At least this is quotes according to Porsha or whatever. And they're allegedly valued at $5,000, which is a nice gift, okay? Kenya ends up getting Shamia's Chanel brooch, which Marlo's assistant promptly takes from Kenya, which leaves Kenya, interestingly, with Drew's 3-part gift, which Kenya says that no one wants. Now, in this gift, in this white elefante, okay, in this white elefante trio that Drew is giving to Kenya, it is what she says is $1,000 wig, okay? She says it's the wig that Kenya was obsessed with, and she then begins to roll up on Kenya. And so then Kenya, okay, has the cutting utensil in her hand and tells Drew, you better back up. You better back up. So then someone has to politely tell Kenya, you got a cutting utensil in your hand, girl. So she has to toss that. Anyway, so also in this 3-part elefante, okay, from Drew, is a $100 gift card to the Humane Society. By this point in time, the ladies was arguing back and forth so much that I couldn't really tell what that was supposed to be for. I guess it was because they had said Drew was wearing a pet on her head. This definitely looked like the same wig that Drew was wearing in scenes earlier that they were talking about, that they called a cat on her head. So at this point, she also has a boom box from 1982, okay, with a recorded conversation between Danny and the Prophet. Now, who is recording on the cassette tapes, and where can you find a cassette tape in 2020? Wait, 2020. Where they find that at? Okay, and why? I mean, you might as well have shown up with a Walkman. Okay. Now, in this bit of confusing boom boxery, okay, we get a voice that sounds to be like Prophet Lot, okay, saying that he likes Latoya or something, and he understood where she was in her journey because he's been there before, something or other. I don't know. Anyway, Kenya is confused, so she gets up and she calls Brooklyn, okay? Now, Kandi basically has to decipher this message for all of us. And you can tell Kandi is starting to get enraged. Now, this was probably my favorite moment from Kandi of the entire for a while, at least on this season. Because as I stated in a video earlier, Kandi is best when she gets activated. And tonight she was starting to get activated, okay? She had inched forward up in that seat, and that hand was going up in Drew's direction, and she was basically telling her that, you know, if the prophet was pushing up on Toya, then that's him. That's him. That's him. That's him. So then, then ding dong, Latoya arrives. Kenya tells her what happened. Drew starts trying to explain it all, and no one understands what this is all about, and nobody is listening to Drew. Drew and Latoya get into it, and Kenya starts dragging Latoya out, and she's calling Drew a narc. But in my mind, I was like, now, Kenya, you can't call nobody no narc. Now, while I'm highly annoyed at Drew for the reach that this situation is giving me and the continuation of this storyline that don't really seem to make any sense, Kenya, you was exhibiting narc behavior after you left Charleston by continuing to ask and badger us all about this Bolo situation. So you can't call her that, okay? You can't call her that. No, not you. Not you. So again, Kandi has her buck moment. She tells Drew that if the prophet pushed up on Latoya, it's because he wanted to. Now, Porsha and Shamia are in the background talking about, ooh, they're not gonna mess up my pin curls. I ain't got on no panties, girl. So they in the background doing that, which I thought was really hilarious. Anyway, Drew is still really bothered. Porsha says what we have all been thinking. I don't think anybody cared about Latoya and the prophet, and we didn't. Now, Cynthia is highly incensed as well in this situation. But I did happen to, let me pause it real quick, because I did happen to see somebody had posted something, and I quite agree with this. Now, let me see what you guys have to say. Now, shout out to our friends over at Queens of Bravo who posted this. And it was I guess it was a sort of meme that says, Cynthia says, I don't understand why Drew can't move on from the prophet thing and let it go. Also, Cynthia, silent on Kenya talking about the Bolo Porsha rumor all season long. And then Queens of Bravo says, honestly, this works for Kandi too. And honestly, when I saw this, I had an epiphany and I was like, now, wait a minute. No, if that ain't the truth, they are so annoyed at Drew. And I'm annoyed too. Trust me, I'm annoyed too. Because I was like, Drew, we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. And you know it's bad when we are now on Latoya's side and not Drew's, okay? We're all on Latoya's side at this point and not Drew's. But at the end of the day, when you really look at it as a whole season, Kenya, Cynthia, and Kandi was so enraged and just aghast that Drew was continuing this line of questioning and judgment about the prophet situation. But they said absolutely nothing, zero, zip, zilch, nada, as Kenya continued her tirade against Porsha and Bolo, trying to investigate what happened down to the dungeon. To me, the two situations are very similar. I don't care about either one of them, to be quite honest with you. And I don't understand why the ladies do either. It don't make any sense. Drew, for you to have just been trying to defend Porsha and defend your actions down to the South Carolina, how dare you try to judge this woman for what she got going on with this prophet? And these are two grown consenting adults. She didn't strap him down someplace and make him do anything. All she was trying to do was get some spiritual help. Don't we all want some spiritual help? Okay. Whew, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Okay. Anyway, all right. Now, the ladies are still trying to convince Drew that this situation isn't that big of a deal, okay? Latoya and Kenya start stealing the champagne because, I mean, why not? This whole party is going down the drain. So you might as well leave with a parting gift, okay? And to quiet as it's kept, Drew still owes somebody $1,000 because I know that wig was not $1,000 wig, girl. You cannot convince me that wig was $1,000. Now, it might have been 10, but it won't 1,000, okay? Take away a couple of zeros from there, okay? So they leave, but Latoya goes in for round 2, okay? And that's when she tosses that wig at Drew. Now, to be quite honest with you, I don't feel like she tossed it at Drew. I felt like she just threw it over her head, okay? And so Drew gets up and she's in a tizzy and she gets buck and goes Chicago up on that good Latoya, but really goes nowhere because security ends up holding her back, okay? At this point in time, Kenya has to escort Latoya out again. But here come the carolers, okay? Now, I was like, where these carolers come from? They should have been there earlier, okay? So the end credits roll. Kenya's officially filed for divorce from Mark. They misspelled the baby's name. That's it, y'all. That's it. That's it. And that's it. That's the season. Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 13, episode 18. I done gave y'all all I have with it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I feel like something missing. They got to do some type of recasting. It's unfortunate to me because I feel like I missed, and now looking back on it, I kind of miss Nene. Now, I don't know who she done pissed off at the network or whatever like that made it happen, but what I do know is this. You know, these ladies need something to fight for. You know, Cynthia really didn't have a lot to do at the end of this season, okay? We had a super chat in the building. From Jaleesa, who says, hi, Richie, love watching you every week. I've been looking forward to them more than the actual episodes. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the love. You know, without having Nene on the show, you know, Cynthia has really settled into a place of, you know, happiness and happily ever after. And I love her. I absolutely do. But she really took on more of an observer role at the end of this season. I think that, you know, Kenya in the Bolo situation was just entirely too long. It went on for too long. I understand wanting to know if you did hear something, what happened in it. And I understand that carrying over for maybe like an episode or two. But beyond that, I think that Kenya has much more interesting things going on than to rely on what was going on in a room with Porsha. I think that the most interesting thing to come out of all of that was watching Porsha and Marlo's relationship slowly deteriorate, which was sad because even the way Marlo was moving seemed kind of funny. But if that was going to happen, then that was going to happen. I think that with Kandi, you know, we saw a little bit of Kandi come back in action tonight, but I just feel like for the most part, I mean, you know, I love Kandi. Absolutely, I do. And I got to go back and watch her movie on Lifetime. I would support Kandi doing anything because I always feel like as a person, I want to learn from her. But I think on this show, I just kind of feel like, you know, she is kind of an observer as well. And quiet as it's kept, again, somebody mentioned it earlier, her speak on it are actually a little bit more interesting than the show. So maybe she could serve as a producer on this show. And I think she could really probably tell the stories in a more meaningful way, in some type of way. I don't know, something else. In terms of Drew, I am Ann Lee says, Drew lost mad points with me this last episode. Latoya had every right to throw that wig. And did you watch Kandi speak on it with Latoya? I've watched half of that speak on it. And I thought I typically try to, if I touch on a speak on it, I typically try to touch on it like on the next day because it'd be so much information. So I'm halfway through it. I'm going to finish watching it after I get done with everything today. In terms of Drew, I felt like she was somebody that I felt like we rooted for in the beginning. And I think most of us still like her. I think that we were just annoyed by a lot of her actions. And I don't like an inauthentic storyline. And I felt like this whole Prophet situation just did not feel authentic to me. because we really didn't know that much about it. And I think that that's part of the problem that I have with production, is that there was so much that we didn't know about and we didn't care about. Okay. So in order for us to care, we as a viewer need to have been introduced to something earlier on. And I think that comes down to how you tell the story. The story elements were all there. We can all see them, but the way they were put together just didn't make any sense. So I need for next season for the story, who's ever telling the story, you can't rush it. You've got to understand where to give us these nuggets of information so that we begin to see things come together in such a way that we start to really care and we start to put the puzzle pieces together so that things unravel and they make sense in a meaningful way, and that they have a meaningful payoff. So this whole prophet situation never really had a meaningful payoff for any of us because we weren't invested, because we didn't know anything about it, and it just came out of nowhere, and none of these characters were featured on the show. In terms of Latoya, I felt like they did her a disservice. They did themselves a disservice by not showing her. And I'm about to say something that a lot of you guys are not going to like. Lala Chanel says that wig Drew had was from Party City. Absolutely, it was. Right from the back of the Party City. It was from last Halloween stuff, not 2020, 2019. Okay, that's where that wig was from. I'm going to say something, and it's this. You gave us a lot of Latoya this season, and Latoya started a lot of the drama. And typically, the reason why someone is not made into a full-time housewife is usually because they cannot show their family in some way, shape, or form. But at the end of the day, when you really look at it, Kenya can't show hers either. And that's the truth. She has a beautiful baby that is a really big part of her life and her story that she can't show on television. Her ex-husband, I'm assuming her ex-husband or, partner, Mark, won't be shown on television. We can't even see his text on television. So at the end of the day, you can't have the rule that a person can't be a friend, can't be a main character on the show if they can't show their life, because unfortunately, it seems like because of Mark, Kenya can't show hers either. So I just feel like if you're the rules either have to apply to everyone or let go of those rules. Let them go. Because ultimately, we've seen that you can have a person hold a peach and not be able to show that aspect of their lives. But if you had been willing to give Latoya the peach, at least then we would have gotten a lot more backstory and seen a lot more scenes that would have made sense for us. Like seeing, Drew and Latoya, have to go home together, seeing her take Latoya home while she was drunk, seeing Drew meet Danny, seeing Latoya meet Danny, seeing Latoya's spiritual journey or some of that. So then we would have an understanding of why this whole Prophet Lot situation even mattered to anybody, right? So I just think that some things have to change next season if you really want to make this show as great as we know that it can be. And that's just that. So, the next, we'll continue to talk about Atlanta, because I know that more news will just continue to come out and we'll continue to follow it. I am going to be the person that is hopeful that things change. And while I don't want anyone to, lose their job or anything like that, I just think that for the sake of the show, some casting changes definitely need to happen. And those are just my thoughts on it. And I'm just a fan who cares about the show and who I feel like kind of understands reality television and storytelling in a way that I feel like would create a meaningful season for this franchise. But that's all we have for this episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 13, episode 18. This is the finale. Next week, we head into the 3-part reunion. And then we got a lot to talk about in our next video. We're going to continue the conversation about Real Housewives of Potomac and Married to Medicine in about an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. So if you're out there and you need to take a little break, definitely do that. And we're going to be right back with the next bit of information that we got, because we got to talk about Potomac coming back. We got to talk about that promo. We got to talk about Married to Medicine. So we're going to get into all of those things. Don't you worry. So this is going to be sort of a two-part discussion today. So go ahead and grab a snack, but hopefully you guys will come on back. That was my Wendy Williams little stealing thing. All right, I'll catch you guys in the next video.